You're listening to Systemic Error Podcast. The failure was designed.
So weird. Newsmax host tears apart MAGA pundit for bizarre Mitch McConnell claims, based on an article by Alex Henderson. The GOP wants health transparency only when it can weaponize it. Scott Jennings told Newsmax and CNN audiences that he spoke with Mitch McConnell, who has been hospitalized for weeks, and said the two discussed everything from Iran to Ukraine to Senate history. That triggered outrage on the MAGA side, where host Rob Finnerty treated the call as suspicious, complained that no one had heard from McConnell for 3 weeks, and demanded proof that the senator is actually doing well. On CNN, Kasie Hunt turned the same story into a question about transparency. Power is not the gossip. The central fact is not whether Scott Jennings' phone call was weird enough for cable chatter. The central fact is that a major Senate figure has been absent for weeks, and the party and media ecosystem around him are treating his condition like a partisan prop instead of a matter of public accountability. McConnell is still a U.S. Senator. Even weakened, his office and the Republican apparatus around him have institutional obligations to the voters who sent him there. When a senator disappears into a hospital and the surrounding political machine offers only selective scraps, that is not privacy. It is managed opacity. The party that preaches strength cannot admit frailty. The MAGA reaction exposes something uglier than concern. It shows a faction inside the Republican coalition that only cares about health disclosure when it can be used as a cudgel against enemies. Finnerty mocked the idea of speculation while doing exactly that, invoking McConnell's absence, references to a possible heart attack, and even the lack of a photo as if the point were oversight rather than partisan theater. That is not skepticism. It is a demolition of basic seriousness. Republicans spent years turning Joe Biden's age into a daily prosecution, then suddenly discovered restraint when the scrutiny touched one of their own. The rule is simple. Health is a weapon when it weakens a Democrat, and a subject for outrage only when it might embarrass a Republican establishment figure. Conservative media is not exposing secrecy. Newsmax framed the exchange as a mystery, but the real pattern is more familiar. Conservative media manufactures suspicion while avoiding the structure that creates it. The outlet's posture is not transparency, it is performance. If McConnell's condition is being hidden, the relevant question is not whether a cable host thinks the call sounded strange. It is who is controlling information, who benefits from the blackout, and why a sitting senator's status is being filtered through pundit outrage instead of disclosed plainly. Turning that into a gotcha about a phone conversation is misdirection. It shifts attention from the institution that withholds information to the personalities fighting over airtime. McConnell is a symptom, not the story. McConnell has long represented the Republican Party's hard institutional power, donor discipline, procedural warfare, and the quiet management of outcomes that Trump later turns into spectacle. But here the old machinery is fraying. The party that once relied on McConnell's discipline now behaves like a movement that resents him, needs him, and cannot decide whether to keep him hidden or humiliate him. That contradiction matters. Trumpism did not replace Republican power so much as rot it from within. The result is a party that still depends on senior operators and Senate infrastructure while training its media flank to attack anyone who looks weak, old, or insufficiently loyal. McConnell is not being defended as a statesman. He is being processed as a liability. Opacity is the operating system. The deeper pattern is straightforward. When institutions become more authoritarian in habit, they become less honest about human limits. Health becomes secrecy. Secrecy becomes loyalty. Loyalty becomes the test. And the public is left to sift through fragments from cable hosts pretending to be watchdogs. This is how a political movement decays while still holding power. It hides vulnerability, monetizes suspicion, and confuses noise for accountability. The scandal here is not that one pundit sounded bizarre about a hospitalized senator. The scandal is that the Republican information ecosystem is so degraded it cannot tell the truth plainly, because plain truth is now politically costly inside the party that owns it. You've been listening to Systemic Error. Thanks to Alternet for today's article. With the automated voice of Clara, thanks for listening.